Today we're going to be solving the mystery of which WWE superstar on the main roster has the worst WWE action figures available to us right now. So I took a bunch of recent releases of top WWE superstars and we're going to be going through them. I'm going to be telling you maybe why or why not they have the best or worst figures on the market right now. And I should probably do this. We did this in the past where I took a bunch of current superstars or a bunch of really popular WWE superstars and we went through the entire thing and I told you their best figure. Maybe we could do that one day, but I just wanted to digress through this and actually picking these off the shelf. You know, I started having debates in my heads and stuff, and I thought that it would make for pretty good content, so let's dive into it, man. Let's start off. This is a bunch of current day WWE action figures of superstars, and let's just start into it, man, with Kevin Owens right here. Now, Kevin Owens has a pretty good track record of figures, and for the most part, a lot of his figures are very, very similar for the most part. He has had the upgrade in the arms. He used to have really small arms, now he's got bigger arms. Some would say they're probably a bit muscular, but he does have the tattoos on there that kind of hides that. And he always usually has this rubber shirt over here, so you're not going to get really any ab crunch movement and everything like that. But the rest of his figures, you know, his head sculpts are pretty good for the most part. The gears are pretty good for the most part. His legs have been pinned for a while. He doesn't have the pinless legs, so you get pretty good movement there. I will say with this new recent release, he does have the new ankle articulation and his feet get a bit loose. I think you'll see that problem. But for the most part, I say that Kevin Owens has a pretty good track record. I find myself enjoying his figures, and I am a big KO guy, but that doesn't, you know, just because I'm a big fan of the person, I do not cut corners or make excuses for the figures, but his figures overall are pretty damn solid. I would say that Kevin Owens has a pretty good record. I would not say that he has the worst figures on the market right now. And we really don't get that many Kevin Owens anymore. I'd really like to see some more, but let's move on to the Tribal Chief, man, Roman Reigns. No stranger to the line, man. This guy gets so many damn figures, and he's really, I mean, he is getting a significant upgrade in his next few figures. We know that he's getting his own unique torso coming soon. He's got some new things coming soon that's going to really help him out, but I, for one, have always been a pretty decent fan of his figures, depending on what accessories and things are included, because I've never been a big fan of these shield legs, and they have given him these shield legs for over a decade now. This guy has had the same formula pretty much over and over and over and over again. And I mean, you know, they used to give him single jointed arms. Since they've upgraded, since they've went to the double jointed arms, so his arms have gotten a lot better. I like the swole shoulders and arms here. They've given him this Ultimate Warrior torso for many years over. His head sculpts for the most part have been repeated. We've gotten better and better as the years have gone on, I would argue. His figures also move pretty well for the most part. Even pinless, they actually do give you a pretty good range of motion. You get, you know, it's not the best. It's not the best of all time, but they're definitely not the worst. I like collecting his figures. You get a lot of different variants and stuff like that. I know that I'm saying variants. You get different shirts. You get different gauntlet colors and stuff like that. I know a lot of people get annoyed with Roman Reigns figures, but I think they're pretty toyetic. I think for the most part they do a good job on the Roman Reigns figures, so I would not say he has the worst. It's just, you know, there's not a lot of meat on the bone most of the time, but it's not bad. Let's move on to Logan Paul. What's said about Logan Paul, man? This is his most recent Defining Moments figure, and we just reviewed this. Now, it's not necessarily fair. This is his most recent figure, and it's most definitely the worst out of all his figures because he has a really good track record. You look back at some of his different figures, man has some really damn good figures. Here's a top picks figure. You have his Ultimate Edition over here. I think it's kind of bummy because Logan Paul actually had one of the best track records in action figure form, but this most recent release isn't there. You know, the attire's not great. It doesn't move near as well as his other ones. It's very stiff, actually, especially in the legs. They keep giving him the same head sculpts over and over again, so I don't know, man. Logan Paul's figures I would not say are the worst, but his most recent one is definitely his worst, if you will, so Logan Paul actually has a pretty damn good track record. He's one of those guys that up until this figure, he was batting 1,000, and we always say nobody bats 1,000, but this most recent figure was a bummer. It was a bummy one. I didn't really care for it, man. But let's move on to the next figure, which is going to be Cody Rhodes, man. Now we're looking at a contender. Now we're looking at a contender for some of the worst figures, and really bums me out to say, we've covered this many times before, but Cody Rhodes, it's so sad because he went from having some of the best figures that Mattel has made to the worst figures that Mattel makes. And that is for a few different reasons. For starters, they started giving him this long neck peg for some reason, so it makes head swaps really, really difficult. I don't know why they did that. I'm not entirely sure of that. Now, from the torso and arms, it's pretty standard for the most part. I don't mind this torso for Cody Rhodes. It's just a really old torso, which isn't a big deal, but they do give him the double jointed arms. All this is standard and things like that. Where you get into issues with Cody Rhodes is from the waist down. So he used to be on ball joints. He still is on ball joints, but they've switched the ball joints, not the traditional ball joint of the past. past, so you're getting a lot of stiffness up here. You'll also run into an issue with a lot of Cody Rhodes figures, not just stiffness, but usually you'll move the leg up and it'll snap right back in place. It's hard to move the legs. They feel like they're going to snap at any moment. They also move to pinless joints. You can see here that there are no pins here, and that has led to a lot of stiffness in the double jointed knee. His knees and legs used to move like butter. Now they feel like you are, I don't know, trying to perform surgery or removing a tooth or something, man. It's so damn painful to do. And then they have started giving him, with the addition of these ankles, with the addition of the new ankle pivot, you can see how loose this foot is. And look how big his feet are. They're almost like clown feet. They're absolutely massive. And his boots used to be so nice and posable. It's just so trash the way that Cody Rhodes definitely is a contender for some of the worst figures on the market. I'm going to put him over on the left. So we've been putting the figures on the right. I'm going to start putting the ones that are a contender on the left, and then we can come back at the end and figure out who has the worst. Let's move on to Randy Orton. Randy Orton, man, has underwent some different formulas and different stuff like that. He has had an upgrade in torso, which I like, but one problem with Randy Orton is no matter how big he gets in the arms and shoulders, they never, ever give him bigger arms and shoulders, man. So I would argue that he probably needs the same arms they've given Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns, these striated big shoulders. They need to give the same ones to Randy Orton, man. Look at the difference right here. Look at the difference right here. Look how skinny Randy Orton's arms are, man. This isn't 2009, you know what I'm saying? Like, even back then, I would still think that it was passable. They have given him this older man torso, which I do like for Randy Orton. And then they give him the same legs. I just think that these legs, while they are muscular, they're way too skinny. I think that they could be upgraded. And I think if you upgraded the legs here and the shoulders and arms, it would really give Randy Orton a much better formula. And his legs and stuff are very stiff as well. You can kind of see, just aesthetically looking back, man, his figures just are not very good. Now, I do like the gear. I like the head sculpt. I like the way the tattoos look. There's a lot of greatness here, but at the same time, there is a lot of stuff that I do not like. I think this figure could be so much better. So, I don't know. I would say his figures are up there with some of the worst, especially aesthetically and formula-wise. I think it could be a lot better. But let's move on to Dominic Mysterio, man. I really, really dig this Elite 119 Dominic Mysterio. I think the head sculpt's good. I think he's very toyetic. I think his figures have gotten better over time, and I dig this figure a lot, man. He does have the Cody Rhodes clown feet, but it really doesn't bother me that much about this figure for some reason. I think it's the tassels and all the different stuff he's got going on. It just doesn't look as bad to me looking at it from afar than the Cody Rhodes, but I dig this. Dominic Mysterio is one of the best elites of the year, or at least it's one of my favorite elites this year. It's just a very fun figure. It's got a lot of stuff going on with it. I love all the deco, the tattoos. You look at it from the back, it's just a really fun figure overall, and his figures in the past have been pretty good as well. I mean, you've had the flannel shirt figure. He's had some stinkers probably along the way, but I'd say overall, Dominic has a pretty good track record. I wouldn't put his figures up there. Another one I wouldn't put up there is CM Punk, man. CM Punk has a very good elite track record, especially with these new ones. Now, he's not perfect or anything, but with the added articulation, his legs just used to be very stiff, but I'd say with the new articulation added and everything, it's really helped his figures. He also doesn't have pinless joints yet, so that probably helps him as well. But overall, the CM Punk figures move well, they feel well, they look good. Overall, CM Punk's figures have gotten better over time. I really dig the new CM Punks, and this gear is sick. He's just got a good track record. They're starting to sculpt on the hand tape and the wrist tape, so his figures have taken some strides. It's definitely not the worst. CM Punk is definitely going to the right side of the aisle. Another guy that's probably going to the right side of the aisle is John Cena. Fantastic figures, especially when you consider the short jorts mold right here. Very, very posable. I don't know what it is, man, but his figures have just gotten so damn good, man. His figures are very, very good, especially on this shorter shorts mold. He has some in the longer shorts that you could argue are probably bummy, but, you get the shirt, you get the hat. Very posable, very good likeness. Just a lot of fun with these figures here. This is his Royal Rumble Elite, and this figure is great. No Velcro on the shirt. It's just terrific. Just terrific. I don't know. I don't know. You're not going to put this up there with the worst. I would say that this is easily one of the more fun figures to pose around and things like that. And aesthetically, it just matches the vibe. I think it looks just like Cena. I am a Cena guy, but that doesn't have anything. If you have Cena figures and you have it on this exact formula right here, You know what I'm talking about, dude. They're very damn good. Very damn good right there. Let's move on to Finn Balor, somebody that I do not feel the same way about, and I'm a big Finn Balor guy. I am not a big fan of Finn Balor's Elite figures right now. I think it's mainly a formula issue, and there's a lot of things to say, man. I mean, his legs are very, very stiff. I also think they make him too short. He just looks like a child over here. And I know that he's not some giant or something, but I think that they could do something to fix him in that way. I think that there's something going on there. The arms and torso and everything are fine. I would even argue from, the torso up is fine. This head sculpt's not my favorite. It's just a very old head sculpt. But it's mainly the legs, man. The legs are very, very stiff. They snap back and forth right here. His Elites just are very short and stiff, and I just don't like them, man. And as a big Finn Balor guy, it bothers the hell out of me. He also has this John Cena shoe mold, which they have since gotten rid of just until this moment. He hasn't had a good Elite in a while, man. So I'm going to be putting him over here on the left with Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes. Let's move on to Gunther, man. Gunther, dude, he has some great figures, man. Some of the better Elites on the market right now are for Gunther. You'll notice he has pin joints in the legs right here, which means that it's going to be buttery smooth, which we love to see. Double jointed pinless arms. I love the formula. I love the head sculpt. He has some of the best Elites. I think that this is a great stature for a figure. Just look at it, man. This is a great representation of the character. If you want figures that are damn good representations of the character, this Gunther right here is absolute money, man. This figure's phenomenal. Phenomenal Gunther figure. And another one that is very good. And he doesn't have the greatest track record. I'd say Braun Breaker does have a pretty good track record. This is his fourth Elite if you include the Chase. He had a really good Elite 104 figure and a Chase. He had an Elite 114 that wasn't the best, but then they responded with this one that's really good. I like the tan, I like the gear, I like the head sculpt, and I like this Braun Breaker. I would say that his figures are pretty good for the most part. His 114 figure wasn't the greatest, but this one right here is a lot of the same stuff. Very posable, doesn't feel stiff, can do all the things you need him to do. Good aesthetic overall. Very good Braun Breaker figure, man. I think you'll like this one. Then we get into Damian Priest, man. Another guy who, until recently, was pretty good. I mean, this figure aesthetically looks incredible. I think what you're going to get into with Damian Priest is his height. His height's not as accurate now. They made him a little too short, but you're getting a ton of great sculpts. He moves well. I think that, they don't give him overly jacked arms or anything. It's a pretty good representation of the character. He also doesn't have the new articulation. I think his newest figure, Elite Series 122, I think it is, that's coming soon, will probably have the new ankles and stuff like that, and we'll get him through the door. But Damian Priest, if you've been collecting these figures, he has a great track record. Fantastic figures. We also have Jacob Fatu here, which we don't have a ton to compare. And coming in, when this figure was announced and everything, I was very worried about it. Thought it wouldn't be very good. And I'm still not totally on board with it. I think it could still be better, but I like this figure for the most part. It kind of shocked me. I didn't expect it to move so well. The torso grew on me. It's a pretty good representation of him. I wouldn't say it's perfect or anything like that, but it's a bit stiff. It's got the clown feet. I think his arms are too skinny, but I don't know. I think that overall, while I'm not the biggest fan of the formula, I'd still say that it's serviceable enough to pass. And it's not the worst, of all time, but it's not the best either. I'd say he's probably middle of the pack. And then we also have Seth Rollins here. Now, Seth Rollins, this is his most recent mainline Elite. This is Elite Series 117. Not a bad figure whatsoever. I do have a trench coat on there, but overall, not a bad figure. His figures most recently, they're not bad. They just forget all of his tattoos, and they've done some boneheaded decisions with him, but I still like his figures. This figure's kind of different than his traditional formula and stuff, but his figures always move well. They represent the character for the most part. Good head sculpts, even though they're repeated. His figures are definitely not the worst on the market, though. And then I have two more bonuses at the end, so we'll get into those. But Big Bronson Reed, another guy, I know it's outdated, but a damn good track record of figures. He has great figures overall. I think that you would say that he has really good figures, man. Overall, they capture how big he is. He moves well, great attires, great head sculpts, great accessories. Bronson Reed has a fantastic. And then we have a few bonuses here, man. We have Jay and Jimmy Uso. I would say that both of these guys have pretty good figures overall. Jay Uso, he's had a ton. I would say his legs are a little stiff, but outside of stiff legs and, some ankle issues sometimes, I would say for the most part he has a good track record. I like the new shoe articulation compared to maybe the Elite, 107 or whatever, where these guys had the tall shoes and the really stiff legs. They've improved those. And then he does the Jimmy, or the Big Jim, whatever you want to say. This is the Elite 114 Chase, I think it is. And this figure is pretty good as well. These guys are pretty damn good for the most part. I would not say they have the worst figures. They had a rough stint there for a minute, but for the most part, these are pretty good characters, pretty good representations, and they're very toyetic. So I would say both these guys, while they're not perfect, they still have a pretty good record, I'd say, for each of these characters. And then I guess you could get into one more. Let me grab one more just for shishes and gigs. And I would say that lastly, we have Drew McIntyre here. Most of his figures look pretty much just like him. Head sculpt, formula, attire. You could probably argue about the skin tone. I think they make him a little too light nowadays compared to the darker skin tone they used to give him, but his track record's very damn good, man. I think that they do a great job of capturing his build, how big he is, and he moves well and all those things, man. I think you'd like Drew McIntyre's figures, man. So that is everything. So at the end of the day, the only three that I'm really not a huge fan of overall is going to be Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes, and Finn Balor. And I would say at the end of the day, it's Cody Rhodes for me, man. Cody Rhodes has the worst figures on the market right now, and I guess you could say elites. It's not really his action figures, but his elite figures are just not very good right now. And I think it's really because his figures used to be so good, and then the fall off was so drastic when they switched factories that it has accumulated to this. I think that's really what it is. Because his Ultimate Editions are the best they've ever been. They're very, very good. But his Elites, man, his Elites have seen just historic fall-offs that we got to get back to. We got to get back to the glory days of Elite Cody Rhodes figures, because they used to be some of the best figures that Mattel puts out, and now, they are just, they're kind of stinkers, man. They've been stinking it up, man. But that is pretty much what I want to talk about today, man. I hope you guys did enjoy. I'd love to know what your thoughts are down below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know all those things down below, man. But that is pretty much going to wrap it up for me. I hope you guys did enjoy. Huge shout out to our Patreon members, man. Thank you so much for your support as always. Thank you guys so very much for everything. You guys are unbelievable, and I appreciate you every single day. But I'm getting the hell out of here, man. I'd love to know your thoughts. Let me know what you think down below. But I'm getting out of here. I'll see you guys next time. Have a blessed one, and I'll catch you guys later.